Access Control List or ACL. In this video, I am going to talk about the ACL or Access Control List, how we can use the ACL, what is the function of the ACL, how we can configure the ACL, how many types of ACL exist, and for example, how we can troubleshoot or verify the ACL. I will talk about all of these topics in this video. Let me first to explain what is the function of the access control list. Look at this simple scenario. In this simple scenario, as you can see, we have two networks, two LANs, that these two networks are connecting to each other with the one router, and you can configure this scenario easily. You have learned about this type of scenarios, and you know that here we have simple routing between the 192.168.10/24 network and 192.168.20/24 networks. And you know that after the configuration of the router's interface, okay, you can easily can experience the path of traffic from the, for example, computer 1 to the computer 4, to destination of computer 4, or from the computer 1 to the computer 5, okay, or also from the computer 2. We don't have any limitation, computer 2 to computer 4, and also from the computer 2 to computer 5. I'm going to show you all of these connections, okay? We don't have any problem for communication between two networks. Why? Because we didn't have configure any security policy or any access control list, okay? You know that by default we don't have any limitation for the sending traffic from one interface of router to the another interface of router, okay? If you have routing, if you have configured the routing carefully and correctly, you will have connectivity. It is okay, and it is obvious for you. You have learned about it. But let me to say that we have some options for controlling which traffic can pass from one side of the router to the other side of the router. Let me to show you here. Look at here. You know that we are some traffic that is inputting or that is entering to the fast Ethernet 00 and then outgoing from the fast Ethernet 01. You know it, okay? After that, also we have some traffic that are, for example, entering in the fast Ethernet 01 in response and then outgoing from the fast Ethernet 00. If you want, you can control each of them. For example, if you want, you can control which traffic can enter to the fast Ethernet 0, okay, here. Or if you want, you can control which traffic can send out from the fast Ethernet 01, or which traffic can enter from the fast Ethernet 01, or each traffic can output or send in outgoing direction from the fast Ethernet 00. You can control all of this traffic, the traffic entering one interface and outgoing from the one interface. The tools that we can control these traffics is the ACL. ACL actually is a list, okay? Let me to show you one ACL. For example, we have access control list or ACL, okay? In this ACL, you have some rules, okay? Let me to show you some of these rules. For example, here we have some rules. In each rules, okay, for example, rule 1, rule 2, rule 3, you have one condition, okay, and also you have one action. So easy, or maybe more than one condition, okay? What is the condition? For example, let me to give you one example you can better understand it. Assume that we don't want to let the C1 to sending traffic to this network, but we want to send traffic from the computer 2 and computer 3 to the 192.168.20. Let me to show you. We are trying to denying the traffic from the C1, okay, to passing to the, for example, 192.168.20. This is our goal. And now I'm going to talk about how we can, for example, do this. Okay, that's it. We don't want to send traffic of the computer 1 from the 192.168.10/24 to the 192.168.20/24. And actually, we are trying to control, for example, this traffic, okay, or this traffic. Let me to show you how we can control this traffic. This is the traffic that we are controlling it, okay. How? Here you can define some rules. The first rule is if the source IP, okay, assume that this is the first rule. You maybe configure one access control list or one list with many rules, okay? But here I'm going to configure the first rule. Here, the first rule in ACL, normally the rules number should increment with 10 value. This is the default value. The rule 10, okay, or the rule 1, if you want, you can configure the number. The number is not important. Let me to write here the condition first. The condition is that if the source IP of the packet is 192.168.110, this is the IP address of the C1, okay, the action should be deny. Deny means the traffic should be filtered. This is deny. We have two actions, deny or permit. Deny means the traffic should be filtered, and this means that we shouldn't forward it. And the permit, this means that you can forward the traffic. Let me to write here two action, permit and also deny. We don't have any other action, okay. If the source IP is from the 192.168.110, the action is deny, okay. Also, you can configure if the source IP is the 192.168.111, this means the C2, the IP address of the computer 2, the action is permit. This means that if a traffic received from the computer 2, okay, you should forward it. How the router can understand that the traffic is coming from the C2? Because we have configured the source IP. If the source IP is 192.168.111, the traffic should be permitted. So easy. This is a list, okay. Also, we have more than these two lines in one list. Don't forget that in one ACL, okay, we have some entry. This is one entry or access control entry, okay, access control entry, okay. This is one access control entry. Let me write here. In each ACL, we have multiple access control entry, access control list. Okay, this is the list, and in this list we have multiple access control entry. It is so easy. For example, maybe in one ACL you have 5, 10, or maybe more or maybe less access control entry. Okay, in each entry we have condition and also we have action. If the condition match with this, you should deny it. If the condition doesn't match with the traffic, you should go to the next line. The next line is if the traffic source IP is 192.168.111, you should permit it. But now we have a question. The question is that if a traffic received to the, for example, router, and this traffic doesn't match with any rule, okay, how the router can, for example, do or react to the traffic. Here in ACL, we have one special rule. You know that ACL should be evaluated from top down, okay, with top down approach. Look at here. Top down means first we should evaluate the first rule. If the first rule doesn't match, we should go to the next rule. If the rule match, we shouldn't go to the next rule. For example, assume that now here I'm configuring another rule. If the source IP is 192.168.110, okay, you should permit it. You know that in the first line we have configured if the source IP is 192.168.110, you should drop or deny the traffic. But here we have if the source IP is 192.168.110, okay, you should permit it. And now let me to give you one important information about the ACL. In ACL, we are using the top-down approach. Top-down approach means first line,